Good evening, family. Here we are again on a Friday night. We're glad that you thought it not a waste of time to join us again on the journey. We like to say that the journey is from me to you and from you to me. And tonight we have two very distinguished guests. One you may recognize from one of our previous broadcasts, and a brother who I am just overjoyed that he was able to join us. Just so that you know, I'm Dr. John Robertson. I'm a clinical psychologist. And part of the reason for us doing the journey is so that we can share some information, educational, psychological, and again, just some fun information as we go on this journey. So after introducing me, I want you to know that we've got my co-host and partner, on the show, Charles. And Charles, you do such a good job introducing yourself. Take it over.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. The funny thing is that when you called and when you asked me about doing the show, you had no idea that I know our guests.
Exactly.
And we have done a lot of things over some years. As a matter of fact, not that it's a big deal, but he actually won every year at my event that you know about, the
right.
What's My Anti-Drug. We try to pick someone who's doing something very positive in the community. And it was an easy choice.
Okay.
So he also won that award. But
okay.
It'll be easy to fill the time because you're talking about his passion. And he's going to introduce himself, and you will get to know him. But it's his passion, and it's funny because we share similar passions and people ask me, why do I do what I do? And I say, that's what you're supposed to do, right? Because I have no idea where it came from other than, to me, that's what you're supposed to do, is that you're supposed to reach back and give and try and help young people and just try to help people in general.
Exactly.
Why some people struggle with that, I don't know. But I guarantee you will feel and hear his passion before the end of tonight.
Absolutely. So to get started, on that, I'm going to merely do a brief intro. And I just learned that the good brother who is sitting to my right, Haki Nkrumah, some of you who are more historically savvy will know that both names have major significance, and we may go into that a little bit later. We just were, before going on camera, talked about the importance of names and naming. And further to my right is Brother Jouney Robinson. And I'd like to say that we are brothers in many ways, both spiritually and also we might have even come from the same plantation. So with our similar names being Robinson and Robertson. Okay. But without further ado, I'd like to talk to Brother Haki because it really is a pleasure having you here with us. And the message that you carry with you is such a powerful one that I do have your bio, but I'm going to let you introduce yourself in the way that you want to be introduced. So go ahead.
My name is Haki Nkrumah. I'm presently the founder and CEO of Young Fathers of Central Florida. I'm also founder and CEO of Umoja Consulting Group. We have approximately 25 consultants across the country who specialize in family mediation, business development for young people and older people as well. So we have a number of services that we provide. I'm also a Florida Supreme Court certified family mediator. 95% of my cases are divorce or separation. So I also do a lot of counseling and co-parenting with adults who might be in a bad relationship or coming out of a divorce, or but just need to be able to co-parent while they're separated. or while they're going through a breakup, because a lot of times even adults have difficult time co-parenting with their children and deciding what's best for the children and not themselves. So you know, I don't want to read my whole bio, but I've been involved in fatherhood for quite some time.
Okay. As a matter of fact, in reading a little bit about you, Haki, I understand that you started the organization way back in 2006.
Yes. While I was in New York, I had an organization. I started an organization called the Jamaica Fathers Project in Jamaica, Queens. And we worked with young fathers under the age of 24. I did that for years. I worked with numerous New York City mayors. I worked with several New York City organizations and agencies. But when we relocated here to Florida in 2006, I took a job with Valencia College as the director of admissions and records at the West Campus. And I just began to see a lot of trends that I, really wasn't comfortable with. And one was I saw a lot of young men entering Valencia. Well, let me take that back. It wasn't a lot of young men, but it were the few young men who did enter. They didn't make it to the second semester. And as you know, if you don't make it to the second semester, that's not for academic reasons. It's usually for financial reasons. And I found that too many young men were dropping out of school because they were fathers. They were young fathers. And I helped a few with child support issues and helping them get jobs. And before you know it, I became the child support man and the father man to them. So I knew right then that I wouldn't be able to stay away from fatherhood, even though I wanted to just work at the university for a couple of years because I was new here. When I relocated to Florida, I didn't know one person in Orlando. I didn't know one person in Central Florida. I didn't know one person in the state of Florida.
I hear you.
So, I really didn't have a resource base.
Right.
But I resigned from my position at Valencia because I knew I couldn't do what I needed to do and still be a supervisor of 25 staff members. So that's when I started Young Fathers of Central Florida. I didn't know many people at all. I just started knocking on doors and introducing myself. But what I did do was I did bring not a CD, because back then we had the VHS.
Right.
I brought a VHS.
I remember those days.
I brought a VHS to show people that I wasn't a neophyte in this field, that I actually been doing it for years. So all my TV clippings and my interviews and all the people, the celebrities that I dealt with, the politicians, so they was able to see that I wasn't new at it. And I wasn't just trying to come up with something that was new or gimmicky. That
you weren't just a Johnny-come-lately
Yes.
trying to jump onto a trend.
I have 15 years in it.
Okay, it's a long time. Many people who get into that cause or that kind of a cause burn out, after a while, because with the amount of time, effort, resources, personal investment, often that can be quite costly. And I guess one of the questions that I'd have is, what pushed you to make that step, particularly the one from what's a relativly safe position?
Salary to no salary?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, people often ask me, why did I start this organization, or why do I do this work? Were you a teen father and so forth? I said, no, I wasn't a father until I was in the military, had a college degree, was in the military. So I had I was a man. But when I was in undergrad school, we did a lot of community service, and I chose to do community service with teen boys. And what struck me, now I'm 18, 19 years old, I'm an undergrad student, but I started to meet guys who had children, and they were very young. They were, some of them even younger than I was at the time. And it was just so disturbing to me how they just had no resources. No one really gave them, as though they didn't exist. And I just couldn't understand that. And a lot of the programs were for just the young mothers. And the same programs that were for young mothers, the young males didn't even qualify for it. And I would ask the questions why. There was no reason for that. So it started back at undergrad school that I could not understand. I couldn't imagine having a child at that age myself. So when I saw these guys, the struggles they was going through, and they were not going to school, and they weren't bad guys. I got to know a lot of them. So I was saying, look, we have to do something. We have to try to help them do something. And that's where it all started. So I've been doing it for years, and each year it seems that I would get angrier and angrier.
Interesting.
Because no matter where I traveled, it was the same thing. And I'm saying to myself, how can we say that we're interested in helping our children and we isolate an entire group of parents?
Yes.
So that's where it started, and it just built from there. It built, and then once I went to New York and I saw it was the same thing there, I just could not do nothing. And even though I know I had an uphill fight, I just couldn't do any, just sit back and do nothing. And when I relocated here, it just continued. The first book I wrote is titled "Young Fathers the Forgotten." So I wanted society to just say it clear that we isolated and ignored these young men for too long.
Haki, I wanted to ask you, and I know that you've been in this for quite some time, just in terms of the scope of the problem of teen fathers, how extensive a problem is it that you see?
I think it's so critical. We can look at, for example, just the state of Florida. We have the third highest teen pregnancy rate in the country. The $80 million that's owed in back child support in the United States of America, 70% of that is owed by fathers under the age of 24.
70%?
Yes, and of those 70%, 10%, 60% of the children live within 10 miles of the father. So we have most of us know we have the highest infant mortality rate in the country. And by a large margin.
By African Americans.
African Americans. And, so it's important for us to know that we have all the children that we have, these teen parents, the fathers are near. The fathers are there. But when we have a system where in high schools, where there's daycare services, where a mother can take her child to school, go to classes, finish school, then pick up their child and go home. When you have the same system where if a young father is the primary caregiver, he can't do it.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
He cannot do that. And it's just not, it's in so many different places. And a lot of times you hear there's no mechanism for it. There's no system for it. So it's very, very extensive. You have the unemployment rate for young African American males is 33%, and in some places 34, 35%. And when you have a Great Depression, the unemployment rate is 22. So these young men are past the depression period. So these young men are out there alone. They're isolated. And people often ask me, well, what's the issues? There's a lot of issues. Lack of advocacy. They have a lack of financial support. Lack of organizations to support them, and lack of collecting data with the organizations who do work with, the few who do work with them.
So one of the things that you just mentioned, and that statistic about many of the fathers being within 10 miles of the child, and the mother, and often the stereotype that we get is of the young man or the man period being disappeared, basically not available, not findable, etc.
We have a lot of misunderstandings. Well, about one thing about society that relates to young teen and young fathers is that we don't realize that their children deserve the same opportunities as any other group of parents' children to succeed. They deserve the same rights. And we also look at young males as if there's some sexual deviance. Like there are these perpetrators who are running around town seducing our young women, not knowing at the same time that 40% of the fathers that work with me, mothers are older than them. The teen fathers.
Interesting. The mothers are
older than them.
Okay.
Also, what we don't want to understand and accept is that some of these teens, they actually think they're in love. They're with these kids. The boys and girls, they're with each other. They're not estranged, running around like hot dogs in the street. No, some of them actually, a large portion actually care for one another and want to try to make it work.
Okay.
So we're not advocating anything here, but we're just saying the reality is what it is. So these young men are not out, being the boogeyman. They're not the boogeyman, but we want to make them out to be boogeymen, young little sexual deviant boogeymen who we need to ignore, we need to isolate, we need to fear them. And those are the misunderstandings. There's so many misunderstandings as though, when we see the kids' pants sagging, we act as though 100% of our young boys' pants are sagging. No, it's really 25%. We ignore the other 75%. Why? Because they're not a talking piece.
Right. Okay. That's so important because the kind of stereotypes that you mentioned about the young boys being boogeymen. So often the media that we often are exposed to will expose the kind of the gangster character, the thug, the rapper who is just sexually overproductive or whatever, and not those young men. The reality of the young men that you see. One of the questions I'd have, Haki, is why is it that, and this may be an obvious question to you, but I think our audience may want to know it. Why is it that you believe that, as you said, that there is very little advocacy, that organizations that could be involved are not involved, that the programs that could be developed are not developed? What's your take on that? Why is that?
Well, one is the lack of advocacy, because teens are not important to most politicians because they don't vote. They're not a voting bloc.
Okay.
Okay, so it's very little political support they're going to get.
Okay.
And then, secondly, they're not paying child support. So they're not a cash cow for the child support system.
Okay.
Because we all know that the parents just don't get money from the child support system, so we understand that. So, but because you have 15, 16, 17-year-old fathers, most of them are not working. Most of them can't pay child support.
Right.
So they're not important to that entire group. They're not really even important to, we understand the prison system, especially in this country, how it's become privatized, and we actually call it the new cotton. When you have entire societies that's basing their income on how many inmates they have, that means if you want to keep your job, you got to keep a fresh amount coming in.
Okay.
Right. So young men don't fit that bill. So they're not attractive to anyone. And then we look at them as though they just stay on the corners. They're not doing anything productive. That they're totally unproductive. There's no program for young fathers. Very few. I have the only teen fatherhood program in the entire state of Florida.
The only teen fatherhood program in the state of Florida.
The only teen fatherhood program in the state of Florida. And when I was doing work with the National Fatherhood Leaders Group, I was working with 8 states: North, South Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, and Florida. And of those 8 states, there was only 4 teen fatherhood programs. And the other 3, I helped start. So that's the lack of programming for teen and young fathers. At the same time, in those 8 states, there was 422 programs for teen mothers.
Wow, what a disparity. Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying it to compare and say that young mothers don't need support, but we act as though none of these young men are with the mothers, so we just isolate them. We just isolate them. And we never, that's why all my co-parenting classes are always packed. I'm doing co-parenting with grown people because we need to understand parenting. We all know parenting doesn't come with a manual, and no one's perfect at it.
Right.
So it's difficult for a lot of people when they're separated and they're still in love to co-parent with this child. It's difficult.
Right.
It takes time. It takes practice.
Oh yeah.
It takes a lot of compromise and understanding, which some people don't have, especially if they're love crazed.
Right. Well, one of the things, too, and, what you're saying about co-parenting, I think it's so important because, again, as a psychologist, I know that both the mother, is important, but that father figure is also critical in that child's development.
Absolutely.
And that often I will see young men who, yes, you may come from a nurturing background with a mother, but in terms of a father, have a very difficult time relating to other men, let's say, older men, like me, because they've never had the guidance, never had the attention, never had the support of a man who would take the time, to really spend time with them. So that co-parenting that you talk about, I think is so critical. One of the things that many social scientists go back to is this Moynihan report that from the 60s that blamed or identified the welfare system as part of the breakup, of the black family, of the African American family. And that information that was gathered is factual. However, one of the things that you touched on is the continuing financial aspect of it, where the prison industry makes money if they are able to, as you say, have a fresh customers, okay, and male customers. And isn't it interesting that the prison population is so overwhelmingly male and black, and Latino, and the school or college population is so female and white, and and tending towards middle class.
And I work in both of them, the college setting, and I was the keynote speaker at Coleman Penitentiary, Coleman, Florida.
In Florida, yeah.
Yeah, they had a Father's Day program there, and they invited me to be their keynote speaker. And I spoke to about 250, 300 inmates. And one of the gentlemen that invited me there, he was just taken aback by the way I spoke to them, because guys in there were serving 200-300 years, 400 years, and my take to them was that I don't care if you serving 5 years or 500 years, you still have responsibility as a father. And I said, what we need to do is come teach you how to do that. I said, you still have responsibility to your children and your community. Just because you involved in whatever it was that put you here, because we know 99% of you all innocent, but besides that, that, and every one of those brothers like almost stood up when I said that, and and I asked the warden before I spoke. When I got up, I said, "Look, I'm not a good speaker because I don't stay on script and I like to cuss a little bit." And I say, and I asked her, "Could I use damn or hell?" She said, "Go right ahead." Okay. So that's when I used those words and let them. I don't give a damn if you got serving 500 years or not. You need to find a way to stay in contact and still be an asset to your child's life. Because if you went in and your daughter was 10 and you've been in for 5 years, your daughter's still 15. Your daughter didn't stay 10. She's still growing and developing as a young woman. So you need to communicate as much as possible. And these guys can communicate more than they could have 50 years ago. So the gentleman that invited me, he said, "Man, I didn't know you was going to come at it like that." I said, "Well, I don't." They invited me here. They asked for me. They heard me on the Monica May show, and they asked me to come. They said, "We've been listening to you, brother. We wanted you here." So I said, "Well, if I'm going to say something you might not like, But I basically told them that we need them. The
Yeah.
children need them. Our community needs them. And the same thing, you talk about the prison, then with all the women at the school, I just started a program with Bethune-Cookman University. We just started the Young Fatherhood Institute there.
Wonderful.
And we're first of its kind in the country, in any university.
Okay.
Working with young fathers. And there, we want to keep our young fathers in school and to help them graduate and to continue their lives.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, we want to invite those young fathers in the community who are not enrolled at Bethune-Cookman University to maybe become enrolled. Because a lot of these young men who's teen fathers, we don't encourage them once they become teen fathers. We tell them, go get a job, do whatever you're going to do. And they drive by Bethune-Cookman as though it's a ship out at sea, that they never could get to.
Yeah.
So I asked Bethune-Cookman, would they bring that ship to the shore?
All right.
And would they invite and encourage these young men to continue their education, get their education, and Bethune-Cookman would be there to help them? They said yes, so that's why we're there.
That's fantastic.
It's funny that you would say that because I can think back when I was in high school and when I was in college. And some of the guys that I played basketball with, I can remember a few of them that were very good ball players, and they became fathers. And all of a sudden, they were like, oh, man, I can't go to college. I can't do this because all of a sudden their focus was on the child. So their mentality was now is almost like everything stopped.
Right.
Yep. Like everything stopped, and I can't continue because now I have a child. And this, I mean, we're talking about guys that are like 17, 18, 19 years old.
Right.
They were not walking away. They took on the responsibility, but their mentality was, I can't go play ball now. I can't go to college now. I can't do this. I can't go. I gotta just go and just find a job, whether it was at see, I'm going to show my age. Whether or not it was at A&P.
Okay, I remember that too. So, okay.
Or probably a longshoreman or something like that in Jacksonville. But they said that that they basically said, now I don't have a future because now I got to go take care of this child.
Right. It is almost like their future stopped. Right then, and there was sacrifice. And Charles, not to interrupt your thought, but that sense of having life stopped, often we talk about the dream, and individuals dreaming and that potential. Think about what it means for a young man because of having a child, again, and caring for that child, who now thinks that there is no future, and the impact of that not only is on that young man, but then on his relationships,
society, and that's why we want to put a stop to that, Chuck. That's why when I went to Cookman and told them, I said we need to work with these young men that's not in college as well as the one in college. Help the ones that stay in school. And just like brother said, our future, we all wait till either Martin Luther King Day or Black History Month to talk about our children, our future. I get so tired of hearing that. If you're not going to do anything 365 days, what's the use? Yes, our children are our future. You know what I mean? I'm being honest.
You're being real.
Right, exactly.
That's what they said. But then, March and April, children ain't our future no more. In June, we barbecuing, the children not our future anymore. But come around to Martin Luther King Day, all of a sudden, we get warmed up in December, leading up to Martin Luther King Day. So, we just feel that we can't isolate these men and make them feel that they have nothing else to do in their life, because even though as fathers, they still need to continue their education. In this day and age, they can do classes online. They can, have a job. They can work. So there's so many different ways that they can stay engaged. They can continue to stay stimulated and learn and understand that when we talk about early childhood development, understanding, like some of our fathers be shocked when we tell them, well, what's your reading schedule with your child? Well, Hakeem, my child is only 9 months. That's right. He needs to begin to hear your voice, a male voice reading to him. And they don't quite get it in the beginning, but we want them to understand the importance of early childhood development and the development of their child,
right?
And their development period.
Right, and that's what I was going to say, because one of the thing that you're saying and that you really haven't mentioned, and what really is happening is that you're mentoring, and that's what we all need, especially then, now, and forever. And when you have the right mentoring and the right people mentoring you, and understanding that, again, the village, because that's really what it is, and that's the way God made us to be. And as we had ventured out from the village, you see what it has caused. And now you're doing your best to bring the village in and bring the village back, because that's the way it's supposed to be. And the mentoring is the most important part, because you tap into them to let them know that they are somebody and that they are capable, because probably most of them have never been told so.
That's right.
Exactly.
And so when you tell them, and some kind of light come on, because you really don't know their true potential, and they don't know it either. And so when they started to believe, they go, oh, well, maybe this can work.
They almost, Chuck, when you talk to them, they almost look around like, who, me?
Right.
Who, me? You mean I can go back to school? They don't understand that. So and that's what we want to do.
Right. One of the things I'm sorry.
I saw you fidgeting over there, so I really got something over there.
He's got a tremendous passion. One thing I wanted to say is, I've been working in this field in ministry probably 30, 40 years. Prison ministry, working with juveniles, working with young people in my community. I've had the same passion.
Pick up your mic there from me.
Yeah, I've had the same passion, and it's good to hear what you're saying. I never even realized that there wasn't support programs that would support these fathers. I never did realize that. Like you just gave us a dap. That's a serious thing. I mean, you need more support in that way what you're doing. I never realized the number was so less.
Oh, yeah.
What I wanted to ask you is that let me go one thing. Because so much, we provide an encyclopedia where we're going. And the kind of thing you're doing is a tremendous need. I'm working right now with my church. We had we studying Ephesians 5 in reference to the marriage, the husband and the wife, and the wife submitting herself unto the husband. And this is a very, it's a spiritual point that Paul was speaking to the church at Ephesus. And I just took it on my own to start looking at the issues. And these are these young brothers you're talking about. I'm thinking still moving into that obedience to marriage. Even though they made a mistake, it still is what God is looking for. And we discussed this. We have brothers in the class there, and these were Christian folks who've been in the church, didn't realize the importance of this. Didn't realize the importance of that body. And we're talking about these guys you're talking about, they, as the Bible quotes it in Ephesus, they are to be the head of the body, the primary provider for that body. And how do you get them to realize, the role of the head of the body, which is that husband and that wife and that child? How do you see, fostering that in their mind? I just think that that's a direction that really, needs to be brought to the front.
Well, I'll answer that in this way.
Okay.
Because people ask me sometimes about the church and so forth.
Right. Yeah.
We don't go into religion with our fathers.
Okay.
Just let me tell you the type of fathers we have. We have 14-year-old fathers, 15-year-old fathers, 16, 17, 18 on up.
Okay.
We have almost all my fathers in Lake County are white guys.
Okay.
Or Caucasians. In Osceola, they're Hispanic.
Okay.
So we have Buddhists, we have Muslims, we have atheists, we have every group. We have Africans, indigenous.
Yeah. Every
we have every group. So I'm not that I'm not that one. I'm not that religious person where I can handle all of that.
Okay.
So what we do is, in return to religious, because I was my dad's still a deacon and my mother is treasurer of a church. She's been there ever since I can ever remember.
Okay.
I used to go to church 7 days a week, counting money, paying bills, and the whole nine. People thought I paid all the bills in the church. If they saw something, they was asking me about it. So that's how I grew up. But I'm not in a position, I feel, to, you know, if a person grew up is Muslim, I'm not in a position to, you know, put my beliefs on him or vice versa. So
Okay.
since that's such a sensitive area with a lot of guys, and that's one thing. And the second thing is that for our fathers who are married, we have some fathers who are married. Okay.
Right.
Now that's where we go into, and who are Christians or
Okay.
who are. So it depends on who they are.
Okay.
And their positions, because unfortunately most of these unions, most of these creations, our beautiful babies that were created,
Right.
they weren't created from according to a marriage. They were conceived through lust and misunderstanding
Yes.
and ignorance.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what it was. They were developed
Right.
from the beginning.
Right.
So I can't put something on them that's right, you know, on this end when their beginnings were so raw.
I got you.
And you know, so
Yeah. No, I got you.
you know, the same way we work with guys. And for example, one of the things that when people talk about what are our outcomes, what are our, you know, with our fathers, and some of the things that we require, like for example, you know, they have to have transportation, some type of license, or if in one question we ask them, if you take a drug test today, will you pass it? Okay.
Yeah.
And if they can't pass it, because a lot of these men, we help find jobs and then they don't pass a drug test. So we're not a drug treatment center.
Right.
So we refer them places, and then once they can pass a drug test, then they can come back to us, because we have so many young men who can pass a drug test who needs help. So in speaking of what you're saying, there's some things that I'm not equipped with handling. That's when we'll send them to those people who are, where they can really help them understand where they are in their lives, because that's what a lot of them need and they lack. But since I have so many different types, I can't do that.
No, I agree.
Well, you know, I think.
You understand what I'm saying,
Oh, I
brother?
understand exactly
Okay.
what you're saying. You can't do what's so good.
Right. Well, that's it.
There was one day I had a group of 20 guys, and I thought every religion on the face of the earth was in that group. I was like, I didn't know where to start. One brother came in with his face painted all up, and I said, he was Hindu. I was like, okay.
All right.
But he had a problem with child support.
So you were going to deal with the child support.
I had to deal with the child support,
Right.
because that's what I had the group with. That was the child support session. So I couldn't deal with the other stuff, because the law going to come at him to say whether he got a turban on his head or whether he got, you know, a suit and tie on.
One of the things that Haki, as you're talking about it, I think that may be, no, I know that's a strength of your program. I know you were saying you can't do everything. What I was hearing you saying is that you individualize what you do, you know, with the person that comes towards you, so that unlike many programs that try to fit the individual to the program, it sounds like in many ways you try to fit the program to that particular individual.
Yeah, to some degree that's exactly the way it is, because I can't, you know, we have certain criteria, like for example, when fathers come to us, there's a checklist of things that they have to accomplish by the time they leave us. One is, for example, they need to be able to pass a drug test. They need to have a license. You can't go get a job if you don't even have a driver license. But if you need to take the bus, you need to get a job try to find a job that's close or located to where you are. If you're a father who are fighting for some type of custody, you know, you need to have an appropriate home. You know, you can't have your little girl sleeping in the same bed with you. You need to have a separate bedroom, because the courts want to see a livable condition. So, you know, if you don't have a child support order, by the time you leave us and you're not living with the child, you need to have a child support order. Do you have a visitation order? If you don't have a visitation order when you come to us, you need to have one by the time you leave. Do you have a library card? If not, you need to have a library card, because there's so many programs that's free for children where you don't have to pay any money. You don't even have to think about it. Just pick from the list of things you want to have them come be a part of.
Right.
So there's tangible things, when people use the R&R, relaxation, we call it real results. That's what our R&R is, real results. When these brothers come to us, I want real results. That's why, people I don't think they respect me because I talk a good game. They respect me because we produce.
You get results.
And that's the bottom line. We don't want any young man coming to us, leaving with us the same that he came.
Right.
That's good.
His reading level, we need to know his reading level. What's your reading level? We get them tested.
Yes.
Literacy. We have this, you have so many young men, especially our athletes.
Yeah.
Half of them,
We know. No, I got you.
I had a brother that stopped seeing his daughter because she got old enough to ask him to read her a story. He couldn't even read. He stopped visiting the child. And he said, and I said, young man, you graduated high school. He said, I was a football player.
Yeah, that was his high school career.
But that's what he knew. That's what he knew.
Exactly.
And then the reading programs they have for these young men with little kids. So you got this 6'7", 250-pound boy got to sitting there with a little desk trying to get a reading class. But go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I want to ask you, and I think that R&R, as he said, what was it?
Real results.
Real results. Real results.
Not fake.
I like that. I like that. In talking about real results, because I know that the audience that we're speaking to tonight, I know is listening in a rapt way and saying, "Wow, this sounds, fantastic," but also probably want to know what are some of the real results. So
those are the results. Those are the results that I mentioned. Those are the tangible results. But then there's things that we use performance measurement models.
Okay.
We were fortunate to actually receive a grant from UCF, University of Central Florida. And they assigned a student to us for 2 years.
Okay.
So they took our programs and developed a model, performance measurement model. And that was so significant for us because most funders, they need to see results. They need to see measurable outcomes. And Disney is one of our largest sponsors. And I received the Disney Shine Grant the last few years, and that's what they want to see. That's what they want to see. So, they want to see that when a young man comes to us, by the time he leaves, what is he accomplishing? For example, there's different trainings that we have that they need to accomplish. They need to be able to understand what is shaken baby syndrome. They need to understand where their child should be at certain levels of their development. Where should their child be at ages, newborn to 6 months to a year. They should be able to articulate that, and they should be able to understand that. Not just say it, but they should be able to understand it. So our outcomes are based in our fathers actually doing things. So if they came to us, if they didn't have an education plan, every father has to have a 3 to 5 year education plan before they leave the program. So and every father, when they come in, if they don't have a job, they need to, if they don't have a job by the time they leave, have at least been to X amount of interviews for a job. Same way, back when they had unemployment, you used to have to show where you went to get a job. The same way with our fathers. We want to make sure that they're making efforts to do it. We want them to have a reading schedule with their child, no matter what their child age is. So those are the things the funders like, and that's what we produce for them. And that's why we, had Disney supporting us. But that's just not enough funding.
No, but won't you tell them, this is something that's going to blow you away. Won't you tell them how much money you have recouped in child support payment? working with the young men.
Well, since then, let's say from 2000, now we've collected, because we kind of cheat now because we doing not just in Central Florida, we doing all across the state. So the last 3 years we've collected at least $4 million in back child support.
Wow.
We didn't collect it, but we
I understand.
we help initiate that.
Right.
Because all our fathers have to have it. If they're not the primary caregivers, they have to have a child support. And we actually send some fathers to put themselves on child support. Because that's accountability.
Right.
That you have to have. Some fathers, they don't want to pay child support. They want to pay when they want to pay, how they want to pay. That's why some of them smooch up to their girlfriends. But that's not the case. And Chuck, that's what we know of.
Right.
That's what we know of. There's another 1.5 million, I'm sure, that we don't know of that guys are paying, but we're not tracking it. These are people we tracked through child support, because we have a partnership with them.
Right.
These are fathers we tracked, and that's how. I don't know if I just said, but I had a couple issues with some of the people in child support because we wanted them to train our fathers to work. Because when we do a child support workshop, sometimes you'll have a lot of people and you don't have enough individuals to talk to them.
I was hoping that
I
was hoping you would tell this story.
Right. So some of them will leave. So some of them will leave. So we just needed those individuals to help us. So we had to go to Tallahassee, and when we showed them those figures, that's all that she wrote. How many people you need?
Oh, okay.
That's basically what it was. I don't want to. The person I had it in with me. I mean, we cool now, so I don't want to.
Okay. You don't want to raise old issues and whatnot. Okay.
Right, but he just was a bureaucrat.
Right.
And he didn't think that they could help us.
Right.
But I'm saying, look, I have these men who's ready to get training. So can we do this?
Okay.
So and that's the thing in the community. When we finally get the brothers to help, we need to be able to train them so that they can help people in the community. Because most of the people who have child support issues and questions in the community, they're basic. They're basic questions. But now that since the Statute 61 since 2008, a lot of the family laws have changed in regard to child support and other issue. A lot of people don't quite get it. They don't understand. You have people still use terms like custodial parents and stuff like that. You know?
Right, and that's changed.
Yeah, all that's changed.
One of the things that Haki, I'd like you to do, because that sense of having brothers there, and by brothers we mean anybody who has an interest in these young men, to come and to participate and to help. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to do a little commercial, about what you need. Okay.
Oh well, we need everyone in our community. We need young people in their 20s. We need people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and if they're 90 and can do it, we need them too. One thing I did in New York that was very, very successful, we got a group of senior sisters of all races, about 30 of them. What they did, since the young men didn't have child care, a lot of those women who was ex-nurses, healthcare workers, who really wasn't doing anything, they were able to do child care for these fathers while they went to school, because the schools did it for the mothers, but the fathers couldn't do it.
Right.
So we got the seniors to help.
Okay. All right. That's great.
We have, and I also developed a storytelling series, and you had senior brothers from coming in with canes and everything else. I said, this is storytelling time. We're going to tell stories, and we will invite the fathers and their kids and let those seniors, let those older brothers tell stories about what they went through, how life was, just storytelling. Because that's one of the things that I loved when I was young, is that my older sister would always take me to these storytelling sessions, and these brothers and sisters was telling stories. And So we need people to do programmings like that.
Okay.
That brings families in.
Mm-hmm.
That brings families in, and that brings that camaraderie in, and it brings respect.
Right.
It brings respect.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be a young man and disrespect the senior if you see her in the light where she's of importance.
Exactly.
You know, we need those brothers that's professionals.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of friends of mine who always ask me why I don't play golf anymore. I said, look, 18 holes of golf is 4 hours.
Mm.
If you can't volunteer 4 hours a month
Mm-hmm.
to work with one of these brothers, then I don't have time to be on the golf course.
Okay, that's a good way to put
So
it.
absolutely, I said that's 4 hours. I'm not asking for 4 hours a week. I'm asking for 4 hours a month.
Mm.
You don't have to mentor. You could just come in and talk to brothers. You could come in. Matter of fact, you could come in and not say much at all, long as they see you there.
That's a good point.
Long as they see you there. Because if you have an event for young men and there's 6 brothers in there, they come in there and there's 25 men in there. All of you have something to say. That's what we need.
Okay.
And we need funding. Don't be afraid to donate $10, $25.
Mm-hmm.
We got, I'm not saying anything. I know y'all pet lovers and all, but you got more advocacy for little poodles than you do. They get the panda bears. They get more money than these brothers. So all I'm saying. All I'm saying is, don't.
Watch you
I know. The Peter. Look, I'm not. My daughter has a little dog, one of them little pocket dogs.
Right.
But I'm just saying, they can't be afraid to donate to these organizations because we just don't have the funding.
Yeah.
Mm.
And in 2010 to 2012 alone, monies that were allocated towards women organizations that supported teen mothers was over $200 million.
I got an idea for you.
Mm-hmm.
You should change it to young fathers with pets.
I know. When I say that, they got us so shaken up that we afraid to say that. But that's what it is. I know people love them, but all jokes aside, those are children.
Right.
Those are babies. I was telling this group that was doing cooking the other day, I said, if any of us, I don't care who you are, if we walk outside right now and see a little child in the street, unattended, and cars coming by, we'll break our neck to go grab that child. We don't care if that child is black, we don't care if it's white, poor, speaks Spanish, we don't care. We'll go secure that child first, then figure out where the parents are. That's all we saying. Secure our young father's children.
All right. Haki, one of the things before we go further, and then Brother Johnny, I'm going to let you jump in. Where can folks donate, or where can folks find you that want to volunteer, donate, whatever?
They can go on youngfathersofcentralflorida.com. Youngfathersofcentralflorida.com. They can go there. Our office is located on 511 West South Street, right in the Wells building, Wells Built Museum. So, it's right locally in Paramore. We also have an office on Cimarron. But they can also call us at 407-423-9400. But they can make donations directly online. We do get donations, but, we don't get enough of them. Right. But, we're always encouraged. We're going to keep doing our work. We want to keep doing our work in the community, and people will see that what we're doing, the results that we have, and we hoping that we're not asking people to give $1,000. If they have it, fine. But, small amounts. So they can go online and donate. They can send it to our address. They can get our address from our website, and or they can call us. And we need all type of volunteers. Anyone who's interested in volunteer, we can find a place for them, because there's so much to do. And even some of our young women, because we work with a lot of the mothers of the fathers. A lot of them need help. Okay, I never forget when I spoke to a group of young women and put 2 breast pumps in the middle of the table. Half of them didn't even know what it was. So a lot of them don't understand, and especially if they got pregnant and left the house early, and they might not be getting the support that they should. So we need female volunteers, male volunteers.
Okay, that's good.
You know, we need
Good
all
to know.
volunteers, and
Okay.
we will find a place for them.
That's it.
I
And
know. I'm sorry. I know
okay.
one of the things that you also emphasized that you didn't talk about is the importance of their health. I know that's one of the other things. Right? You talk about that a great deal.
Yeah. That's health is always important, because someone asked me before, what's the most important thing about fatherhood? I said health.
Right.
Staying alive.
Okay.
You don't want to be a burden to your family. So health is important. And the first thing with these young men is understanding that they can't run around smoking weed and doing all these things, because that prevents them opportunities. First of all, if you're a minority, most of the times you lack there's so few opportunities. You don't want to take opportunities away because something that you decide to do with your homeboys.
Right, exactly.
So they need to stop that. They need to get their diets together. Get checked out. So, but I get on the older fathers for that a lot. Make sure, because there's no need us, going out if we don't need to go out. Because my doctor's not gonna tell me, well, he would have lived if he just would have went into the doctor every now and then. But health is very, very important.
Okay, Brother Johnny,
one question
jump
I wanted
in.
to ask, but I'm gonna have to visit with you and talk.
Yeah, man.
You impressed me. But, okay, let me say this. My background has been in blue collar work. Okay, that's licensed general contractor. Took me years to get going and to do that. And I've tried to talk with my neighborhood and community kids to follow that track. Matter of fact,
Put your mic up there.
I did articles back in 1980 in reference to that, because of that being the process which I was able to get food, clothing, and shelter for my family and raise them. Every man who's the head of that body we talking about, I mean, that was just pressed into us coming up, back in that time, is that you had to have some kind of tool or something in your hand to make provisions for your family. Now, I don't see that today. And so, I don't know, and I heard what you're saying at Bethune, but I may have to come and talk with you about it, but blue-collar work, which possibly, if we understand that, is where most of your urban income come from. And the heads of the house, they do blue-collar work. And Bethune-Cookman, UCF, these, institutions which producing more white-collar. A lot of these young guys, it's not going to be able to flow in that. Have y'all looked at, that opportunity or what it takes to do that?
Absolutely. The first job fair I ever did when I started the organization was in 2007.
Okay.
And that job fair, we invited employers, but they had to be employers who were looking for employees who didn't have 4-year degrees.
Okay.
And people would look at me like, that's awfully strange for you to ask that. I said, because most of your job fairs, they tell everyone to come in with their degrees and this, all this. But there's a lot of men out there who have been working for years, but out of work, have experience in those blue-collar areas, but a lot of times they don't have job fairs for them. You very rarely hear a job fair for blue-collar workers.
Exactly.
So when I first came out, I did that. They looked at me like I was doing something very, very strange. But we got about 30 guys jobs that one day. And also, like just the gentleman program, my 10 to 13-year-old boys, I ask all of them all the time, what is it that they want to be when they grow up? And half of them said either basketball player or entertainer. But the other one said landscapers. Okay. Plumbers. Okay. They mentioned all blue collar things, and come to find out that all of their fathers were those things.
That's why they see that. That's
okay.
Well, that's all I just want to bring. But I'll talk with you.
Oh yeah. I'm on that one. I'm on that one.
That's what my direction.
That's why I asked them those questions, and that's why I wanted. And the ones, and remember this, the ones who said they wanted to be athletes and entertainers, that's where their fathers at.
Most of them were blue collar, probably.
They're not there.
Well, talking about their fathers?
Yes. Their fathers not there.
Well, a lot of, I know about the system and the jail, so.
Yeah, but their fathers were not
there.
Lives.
Exactly.
So the ones who wanted to be these lofty things, their fathers, you got it, wasn't in their lives. But the ones who wanted to be the blue collar, their fathers, they wanted to see their father.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
That's
very, very important.
Right. They had an example.
Yeah.
They had some mentoring.
There you go.
They had a foundation.
And those who wanted to be all these entertainers,
they went.
Exactly.
That's a good.
Brother Johnny, we're down in our last few seconds. You want to just take us out with a good word?
Oh boy, yeah. Well, I just wanted to. Well, I was trying to get scripture together. You just blew me away. Stuff I ain't never heard.
All right.
I mean, I just appreciate you, brother. But what I wanted to, I'll leave, is the scripture in Ephesians 5, and that's what I was talking about. That body we're talking about. I'm just going to do a part of it. And but women and men, it says, wives, submit yourself unto your husband, who is the head of the body. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church. And his body, and which is the Savior of the body. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit unto their husbands and everything. And that's what we're talking about, these heads.
Now, I think we may have a little controversy with that particular scripture for next week. But part of what we do on the journey is to raise these questions, to not run away from them, to have the dialogue so that we can get a better understanding of us as a people, the world that we're in, and to move us forward. Because we are all on a journey. And in closing out, as we like to say on the Journey 2020, that the journey is from you to me and from me to you. Good night, family. Next week, you'll have Brother Charles here because I'm taking one of those R&Rs, not the real result, but a little rest and relaxation. So we will see you in 2 weeks, but Brother Charles will be here next week. Good night.